You need people who understand every step of the process.
Yes.
So this is why automation, hyper-automation became big buzzwords. We're going to hyper-automate, we're going to cancel jobs. Let's cancel the jobs, and here's some automation tools, go run, right? And then they put in the order.
Answer, but I'm not going to say it.
And then they
Well, here we go, episode 16. So while he's losing his shit on the precursor to the show this evening, welcome back to the InfoMatters podcast. Good to see you guys, and thank you for the long and lasting laughter. We hope we've given you, of course, a little bit of information to Daniel, the business of the podcast.
Again, welcome back. It seems like we've had a big break. It's only been a week, and the reason is they were shortening the table, isn't that right?
Yes,
it is.
Yes, we all feel a bit close and comfortable in the bunker today.
Yes,
very cozy in here.
Very cozy, isn't it, Mr.
By the way,
Fraboni?
we've changed the ambiance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
we
is
went,
Intelligence
colours,
Green, the guys that power us.
Exactly.
InfoMatters. So thank you. Yeah, you know what to do. Subscribe and like. Hopefully world domination is coming soon. We bring you the feed on anything that matters, that doesn't matter within IT. And this week we've got a bit of a cracker because it's all about AI again, which means, and hyper-automation, which means that we're not actually here because it processed us before we did it.
Yes.
Anyway, like and subscribe.
Danny,
Xtelligence.com right
to.
below. And if you are a follower, you know where to go.
Yep.
And there have been a lot of lucky candidates that have followed us, that have found their right careers or pathways. And also 5 t-shirts went out yesterday to the 5 questions that will appear in today's show with our lucky guests.
Well, exactly. While our producer's been winning or producing and making competitions, and he actually went shopping. We'll introduce our guest now. This guy is no surprise when he's on the show. Is of course our lovely, large, and well-established friend,
Mr. Fraboni.
So we always love to have Joel back.
Welcome.
He's a world of information in this world. And of course we've always had a theme of AI,
and the theme today, Kenny, is we're sponsored by Shaggy.
Oh yes,
so
of course.
You don't know about it yet, but this is the possibility now to join a community,
yes,
like-minded food enthusiasts, looking for better delivery times, better quality service, and better food. So everything's in the website down below.
Swaggy.
Probably.
I put Shaggy on purpose. So Shaggy, if you're listening, Bastaram Shamon.
Swaggy.
So if you're looking for food, it's Swaggy.
And to be honest, don't cut that because Shaggy's good. And if you'd like,
Shaggy, Swaggy?
he could subscribe as well.
Exactly.
Swaggy.
So if you want to have a good time, you need a power up first. Go to Swaggy before you go to Shaggy. And you're gonna have the perfect night.
We love what you did there, Joel.
And that's why this show is all built by AI these days.
And of course, in the
Amen.
background, of course, Swaggy's been using a lot of our technology, and I
That's
hope
it.
you remain safe bringing your pizza.
So,
Now, Daniel.
the topic is hyper-automation using AI in service management. Is some of this management, something quite close to all of us at the moment.
Many ways.
Building services, onboarding platforms. We're all from, again, you all know, from a pharmaceutical IT background. Joel, we've been talking quite extensively, weeks and days about this, how it can assist our new process in onboarding services. What are your thoughts on not just hyper automation with AI, but just AI in general? AI in general.
Well,
So this kind of takes me back to I'm time warping to the last time I was here. This was several. Yep. And we were talking about how AI, it's all about the models, right? So how AI is as good as we make it to a degree. Now there are algorithms that are leaps and bounds ahead in what they're doing at
the average IQ, I imagine that's not hard to do.
No, not as even small IQ, probably quite.
I mean, we've had a show where prisoners, in penitentiaries, are making deep fakes on Nokias. So
right,
it's debatable about intelligence levels.
So I think it ultimately how we use these AIs to improve our life, right? And where we can fit them in, and this is why I like the term hyper automation. Hyper automation to me seems where it's the quick wins, and then the micro hyper automation, right? It's the coffee pot that turns itself on and starts brewing your coffee. And a perfect example, coffee pot that'll turn itself on in the morning and start brewing your coffee before you ever woke up.
I bought my brother one of those for Christmas.
You program it, you train it, you teach it what to do, you tell it exactly.
Thank God it's only boiling water.
And it learns the time you wake up, so it's not just an alarm clock. Alarm clock.
Now that would be. Now see.
Alarm clock. That's something new.
So now what you're talking about is a future service that I'll probably be releasing on Apple soon. Sorry,
but not within the pharma industry. This is not FDA approved.
No. But I mean, but you're onto that idea, right? So you take that coffee maker, you hook it to your Apple Watch, and now all of a sudden it does know when you're waking up because your Apple Watch is actually signaling the coffee maker, hey, in 20 minutes this motherfucker's gonna, excuse me,
we can say
20 minutes this guy's gonna wake up and he's gonna be ready to go. So in a way, what we're talking about today, that's a perfect layman's term example of hyper automation.
So you've got artificial intelligence that's using machine learning.
Well, I mean, and
then behavioral learning. But then isn't a hyper automation when basically it learns all of that and goes, you're basically wank.
Yeah, you can't make yourself a coffee.
We'll get onto services and
But in the basic term, we're losing. I mean, of course, I always play devil's advocate. You've got the machine learning and all the learning that's making replacing.
So in the idea that we presented, right?
Yeah.
The machine learning is the phone and the watch keeping track of your sleeping habits.
Of course.
Right. The coffee machine. The coffee machine can be programmed to turn on whenever you want it to turn on. And linking that because it's an IoT with your phone and thus your
and making you
your
the
watch, you're now creating
a
micro hyper automation so that when you wake up in the morning, you just reach out and there's your cup of coffee.
Then all the builders moved in. Your wife's got a negligee off.
All that good stuff. The builders are doing.
I strongly recommend a good movie called Idiocracy. I think this is where micro hyper automation will lead us eventually.
We've seen the advert. The guy that goes to the dentist in Sweden or something like that. He's got voice control everything. His mouth is the size of a
Stephen Hawkins, wasn't it?
Controversial. That's all right. Yes, it was. But voice controlled nonsense, and he loses the ability to speak and can't control anything. So I get the replacement of the mundane routine things and the machine learning.
Let's go back.
Yeah.
So this is the use of hyper automation with AI in service management and onboarding.
And not just in the domestic. Not sponsored by Nescafe.
But I hope today's session, and I hope this podcast will, what we can do at least on this, because that terminology, it's a mouthful.
I know, I've struggled twice.
And it's that perfect thing at a cocktail party. Yeah, I do micro hyper automation for global Fortune 500, blah, 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 blah.
Try and say InfoMattersPodcast.com. Can I put cat in? I think I just did.
Yeah, no thanks.
And so all that kind of routine stuff you do as a business, is that what we're trending towards?
I think it's more an analogy that we use a lot in our jobs every day is what does it take to eat an elephant one bite at a time? These are taking your bites for you.
Not at all.
You're basically you're programming something to keep biting away and keep chunking away at something. But these are small things.
Yeah.
But again, and what we'll go through today with the services, when you add up enough of these little things, right, and as ridiculous as it sounds, in large organizations, the bureaucracy layers that are created, which are effectively needed for the corporation to operate properly, there are a lot of these opportunities to hyper automate. And it can be things as simple as, and I'm sure anybody who works in a company where they have to do approvals in any situation.
There you go. No,
here's a great example. Having a single app on your phone or app on your computer that you open up, and all of your approvals from all the different systems, SAP and Salesforce and all the different backends that you have, and they all get funneled into a single location where you can see them and manipulate them. This is the hyper automation that actually makes your job faster. It makes processes smoother. It removes the amount of human error, and at the end of the day, the more we're pushing out on people, and it's the trend in industry today, is to I don't want to say self-help, because it's not really self-help. It's more you do it yourself. Before you'd call an agent and you'd tell them what your problem was, and then you'd explain that 16 more times to 16 more people until you got the one that could help you.
Now it's a VR, now it's a virtual agent that just goes.
Now it's maybe
press one where the errors are.
Press one.
But how much better has it gotten from that press one to nowadays, where it's like, I think your problem. Type in your problem. Yeah. Okay, I think based on what you're saying, you need this, right? And so again, these and those are chatbots that are doing it, right? It's a program that is essentially doing the decision tree and learning from the decisions that get made repetitively.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So in effect, it's making our life simpler and easier because it's taking a big, long process that's prone to human error, and it's eliminating those added extra
the
steps
time, the error
that cause that are
But as you said,
problems.
it's applying the right parameters.
Yep.
Because all it's doing is it's following instructions that we give it. Then it's learning around it.
Yep.
To automate the kind of common.
You're augmenting the rule base with the learning.
It's same as
it's like a really sophisticated puppy.
It knows that you have time on a Thursday afternoon for approval. So at 4:03 p.m. you get the emails.
I think your 0365 does that for you. I'm
email
getting ping going. Hey, your screen time between these hours is really low. You should either be working and not fucking off out on your balcony having a drink, or focusing more on your work laptop, because we notice from 3 to 4 every day.
Mouse jiggle, you bust.
Exactly.
Your screen time is quite low. No, I mean those things are. I mean we're always getting those alerts now, and even with Teams, as Teams keeps evolving.
Yeah.
And I have some friends that are product owners of Teams for Microsoft, and they're telling me that. They're cooking learning more and more of this.
They're baking this into the tool.
This AI learning because again, right? So hey, we notice that your schedule is really busy on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. What if you were to move this scheduled meeting that you do every week to Thursday when you're not so busy?
I was telling you off.
So it's starting to give you recommendations for even how to manage your time, and it's, I mean. I first started seeing these things, and I'm like, whatever, bin it. Just what is this nonsense? But lately, I've been kind of tracking it a little bit because it's interesting how it's picking up on and again,
productivity gains.
It's noticing when the meetings are being booked. It's seeing when meetings are canceled. It's it's basically giving you analytics on your day, and because we work out of Teams 90% of our day, it's able to give you a pretty accurate.
Nobody can argue with the data, right?
It's like going back 70 years when you get a card and you punch in at work, you punch out at lunch and you punch back in. It's literally, if you have to be there on those hours or you don't get paid. And these are your times of breaks, and you're monitored.
But the difference is because
we're going down to
hold on. We've made our time more available. What's funny about that statement is, and I hate to say this, but I'm the end of that generation, right? So I remember my first jobs having those punch cards.
Well, even on a laptop, on your notebook, on your desktop, you took them to work and you had to sign in.
Oh no, I remember the actual metal boxes on the wall.
Frank the card.
Joel's from Detroit. He met Eminem in a bumper building plant.
Oh, I met Eminem, all right.
A different Marshall.
What's funny about that is the mindset of the worker back then was, I punch in. And then I go for a coffee.
It doesn't mean you do
anything.
anything.
I have a chin wag with my mates. I'm
already punched and I'm working.
I'm working, but hey, boss, F you. I punched in. Yeah. But God forbid you punched in 1 second past that timeline when you're supposed to punch in, you're getting called to the office. But as long as you punched in on time, you could then learn how to drag.
Yeah.
Right. The rest of your time.
Whereas now with an MS Suite, it'll know which apps you're opening, which SharePoint you're accessing.
No. And if you think they have access to that analytics, damn well your company has access to the broader analytics. No,
is that
it's going to be anonymized. Hold on.
Okay, so it's anonymized.
You tell you what,
it's going to be anonymized.
I mean, sod onboarding services, but buggered.
Yeah, they're going to sit there and go, we noticed that your company, you have, let's say, 60,000 employees, and we noticed that on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, that the productivity hours are between this day to this day are just through the roof, and then they drop off. And on Fridays, it's non-existent. So maybe you shouldn't even work on Fridays because you're not working anyway.
Because that's back to the argument.
And then we become friends. Then we become friends.
Yeah, and Sweden. Yeah, Scandinavia. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I get it in terms of, I think it's fabulous. But myself and Joel were discussing something regarding
their tool sets,
automation of business service. So you have a standard system of ServiceNow.
Yeah.
So all the companies you work in raise a ticket. So raise a ticket. But there's a process here that doesn't fit because ServiceNow doesn't has it. So you get API connectors to a different tool set, Power Automate.
Right.
We've been looking at that. Brilliant. But now it's gone even further to hyper automate tools that once that business process flow is done, and then you've got your decision trees and who it's going to, that everything is going to get hyper automated.
So it learns how to make that process even more efficient.
Exactly. Let me give you an example.
It's like that.
So we're gonna you want to create and let's have a little bit of fun with this, guys, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna create a chip shop.
I knew you were going to say chip shop.
Yeah,
Interesting. All right. Okay.
We're gonna create a chip shop. And in the chip shop, we've got every day there's a delivery of the chips, and we drop them into the fryer. They come out.
Peel them first.
Potatoes, Joel. Potatoes.
Put a process block back in front.
It's a machine that the potato rolls in, it crushes it down, becomes chips, into the fryer, through a little
belt.
Belt that they get dumped out onto, right to the big fat customer sitting there with his vinegar and ready to eat.
Yes. Vinegar. If you like vinegar, just like, subscribe, you get a key ring.
Yep. Vinegar. And chips.
Or if you actually download the app for Swaggy, you get your food.
Yeah.
So basically, our chip shop, we're gonna hyper automate the process for ordering.
Okay.
Right. Today we've got a lady who stands there at the counter, or a gentleman who stands at the counter. Hello, welcome to Khalid's Chip Shop. How can we help you? Right, and then they put in the order.
I have an answer, but I'm not going to say it.
And then they put in the order, and then she writes down the order on a piece of paper, and then hands it back to the chef. Who then has to make all the food and then serve it.
Sure.
So how are we going to hyper automate? So let's take that process. So rather than having somebody sitting there taking the order, well, let's put a drive-through so that people don't even have to get out of their cars and walk into the shop.
Lazy.
Right? And then we'll put a microphone and a camera outside, so when they drive up, they immediately come to a menu.
Yeah.
And they can see the menu.
That point of sale.
Yeah. And there's a screen there so that when they put their order in, my AI is going to listen to what they're saying
and says you don't need chips.
And it's gonna put it on the screen.
Treadmill.
So when they say, I want a double order of chips with extra mayonnaise, it's going to pop up and it's going to say,
do you want fries with that?
Chips. It's going to say basket of chips, extra mayonnaise, and then it's going to ask, you sure you don't want brown sauce with that, right?
Yeah.
So there'll be the upsell.
So you don't need that person at the counter anymore. Now I have an AI-generated virtual
assistant
who's doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And again, the language... And this, I think, was holding it back the most.
Well, Google speaks more than I do, so.
And especially in a place like America where you have so many accents.
Yeah.
I mean, Britain, you have. I think in Britain it's easier because they're more pronounced.
Indian.
Right, but then when you start adding in the Americas, Britain, Scottish, English.
No chance. The thing is, a Scottish chip shop is a jail front. And you get some bread and porridge. No disrespect, I am actually Scottish heritage, but 2 parts of heaven.
You're too tall to be Scottish.
And I'm nowhere near that.
I like Kenny my booster seat.
For the booster seat since I was 14.
That's what she said.
So you got the AI set up. It's learning. Go on.
So you got the AI learning. So we're taking, the whole point is we're taking this process of the ordering process and we're breaking it down and we're finding little places to automate in, right?
Yeah.
So now the order comes in, it's going through an automated computer. The computer picks it up. Computer's then putting the order into the system, goes to the back. Immediately the chips are being, all right, so maybe we've got some guy in the back who's peeling potatoes, sticking them in a machine that just automatically crushes them into chips and drops them into the fryer, and when the fryer beeps,
I can see where this is going.
the guy's got to go and he's got to lift the chips out and dump them into another basket, right?
Which is RPA, robotic process.
Which we're now going to replace with a robotic process where the robot arm just reaches down because again, this is much safer too because now I don't have to worry about an employee getting burned by the oil or the grease. So now the robotic arm is doing it, dumping the chips over.
McDonald's like that.
Yeah, pretty soon we're going to build another robotics that's going to sit there and it's going to put a guard down like a little, I don't know, like for a train crossing. When the amount of chips for one basket's reached its limit, it's going to put the little thing down. It's going to slide a new basket in the way, pushing the other one on another belt that's going to slide it over to a robotic arm that's going to pick it up and hand it to the window where the person picks it up and takes it. And they get their food to have it released because that'll be a double-sided box.
Yeah.
They'll have their receipt they've got to put in. It'll get scanned. The scanner will open the door.
Or go to your email, and then they've got your email address for
I was about to say,
well, of course we're going to get that
facial
along the way.
recognition. Welcome back, Danny. Do you want 16 portions of chips like last week? And by the way, your vinegar's ready. Now this
is exactly where it's
and
going.
then give you analytics on how many times.
So now we store that data from that order. And this is nothing different than the other groups that are doing it.
Give you a discount on Facebook, Instagram, TT or TikTok.
Give us a recommendation in these places. You get 10% off your next. Oh, you put a recommendation every place here. Have a free basket of chips.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of the day, I'm spending maybe $1 million on all the robotics and everything else. What I don't have is an employee cost.
I don't have an employee cost.
I don't have all the taxes to pay. I don't have all the headache of an employee's not showing up. I don't have to worry about
because they want 24. You can go 24/7.
I don't have anybody getting pregnant. I don't have anybody calling in sick. I have no issues because I've replaced my workforce with a bunch of robotic arms. Now, when the computer breaks, we're down. But from an end-to-end process, we've added the hyper-automation pieces. Yeah. And again, like any good process, and if we do this the right way with our services,
indeed.
What we're doing is we're gonna take a very human today, and again.
But the human element
today, somebody raises a ticket in a system.
It takes it off.
I mean, you see
the ticket goes through, and then there's a group of people in the resolver group who are waiting for that ticket to come in so they can work on it.
Yeah, exactly.
What if the resolver group is now a bot that has a decision tree that now goes based on, and again, we're going to add a little analytics. So I've got a team of 5 people, 5 engineers, really expensive guys. I'm investing a lot in them. They're really good at their job. I want to keep them happy. I'm keeping them paid, right? Yeah. So, which is sometimes tough to do in the market.
Was that Kelly, 20 days?
Yeah.
He's watching Pakistani cricket again.
Right. So you're trying to keep a good team in place and keep it together. And with engineers, what's the biggest thing you want to do for them? You want to get rid of all the bureaucracy and the tracking their time and the paperwork.
Just let them do
the mundane stuff, right?
Yeah. Right. Let them do the fun techie stuff and not have to worry about all the tracking stuff that they hate. So perfect. They go on the system, ticket comes in. Ticket already knows who's working on what, how much time it's going to take.
They just build the connector, go, bosh.
Danny, you've got free time. You can handle this. And by the way, we know you're the best at this because your resolve times for these issues are the
previous
lowest.
Tickets were the best.
From the previous, lowest, so we're going to give it to you. You'll probably know how to solve this the fastest. And now, as a service owner, a solution owner, I'm sitting here going, all right, so I've got 5 guys that I'm paying good money to.
Instead of all of the group looking at the same tickets, it gives it only to those.
I used to have 25 people because I needed one person to route tickets. I needed one person to, when stuff was coming in that wasn't actually engineering work, but was more compliance work, I needed somebody to pick that up and then figure out what to do with it. Well, now we've got a process where that gets routed over this other AI that will automate.
And you also get what I hear a lot is predictability. So you know that the third week of the month is heavy for tickets because people are preparing for month end. You know that at 4 p.m. on a Thursday you need to staff up.
Or if the platforms that you are having tickets coming in are X, Y, Z.
And how do we use? But so now, how do we use that data? How do we take that analytic data and we turn it into another micro hyper automation? I'm going to go, okay, I'm looking at my team and I'm looking at the days off they have for the year and the typical holidays that they want to run on. Yeah. And I'm going to say that because, you know what? It's always the third week of the month that we're cramped up. And it's always the month right before the quarter end that we're that we have the most stuff. So I'm going to make a deal with my team where I'm going to throw them a bonus day if they take all their time off
elsewhere
in the weeks and months that are the non-critical ones to us. And then I have my full staff working when we have those critical moments so that I'm never understaffed and I'm never the bottleneck in the company. Yeah. The noise will never fall onto me. Right? Now, this is ways I can, and now I can actually create an automation that will take the analytics, looking at all the different tickets, looking at how it's done, and it's going to feed back information. Okay, these weeks are when you want your team to be off. Yeah. Now, that's a one-time run. You're running that like quarterly. You're keeping an eye on those things. So again, where you implement these, how you implement them, this is the thing with micro hyper automation.
I got
it. It's you're taking something that somebody does every day, a button they click, and you're replacing that with a computerized program to do it or a robot.
And what are the disadvantages of employing a hyper-automation model?
You need people who understand every step of the process.
Okay.
Because if they don't understand what the process requires, when the automation breaks or when the technology breaks, they can't problem solve it. So unless you have...
There's a little bit of dumbing down there, because ordinarily with a team of 25, they'd all be talking and knowledge sharing. And
we're always saying, I mean, these are tool sets to assist. Tool sets to make quicker, tool sets to
see
improve.
That, but you've gone from 25 to 5. That's replacement of people.
Yeah.
But this is what big companies
But then when
doing.
it goes Pete Tong, you're left with 5 developers that are great at fixing the ticket, but they don't know how to fix the process from the start.
Yes.
So this is why automation, hyper-automation became big buzzwords. Because big CTOs, CFOs, CEOs are sitting around going,
for me, it sounds like you can't breathe.
Are you telling me that I can get rid of 1/3 of my workforce and deliver the same quality service
or better?
Bring it on.
Yeah. Look at supermarkets though. They've all brought in automated tills.
Self-service.
But 1 in 3 people that go there, it goes red.
Yeah.
Because
they're waiting.
Because they didn't put the produce on the left side first, so it weighs it, so that then you beep it. So
what's funny about
automation doesn't work.
Unidentified thing in bagging area.
Because the human element is the downfall.
Yeah. Now with that said, that's a perfect example of where it's failing because the industry jumped on it too fast.
Yeah.
They try to shove it in too quick. And people tend to forget consumers have a line in the sand of what they're willing to do. Mm-hmm. I'll bag my own groceries. And this is funny. When I grew up, there was a guy there was a woman. There was a person. I will say there was a person checking your not even. They didn't even scan it back then. They were typing it into the computer, right? And then there was another person, usually a boy, standing at the end of the counter, the end of the little belt, and he was bagging everything. And then he would, Mrs. Fraboni, can I take your bags to your car, right? I mean, and one of my first jobs was a bag boy, right?
And basically, what went wrong, and you're checking they're not robbing stuff. Now, with these automated point of sales, there's a left and a right.
Oh,
put your basket in. The reason is,
and it's all about weighing the product.
Most people don't know.
Yeah.
The reason you have to put all your produce down is it weighs it. Yeah. And then you beep it and you put it. Otherwise, you hold a bottle of whiskey in one hand.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you go beep, 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 and it goes red. Yes, you knob, you're stealing.
Yeah. Yep.
I
don't like you. I don't like you because I was shopping over the weekend and I was going to buy a steak for a barbecue.
Although if you don't,
and I just wanted this damn steak, and I had a steak and I had some salt, pepper, some butter.
Yeah.
And the guy that I was with shopping, because I bought a bag first to put it in, right? So I scanned the bag, put the bag over, set the bag just right because I know how these things work. Grab the steak slowly, scan the steak, set it in, grab the thing of salt, set it in, and I'm doing the pepper and I have it in my hand. And he picks the bag and moves it because he wanted to reorder. It's going to spill over the side, and the whole thing starts blinking red.
Fell apart. Yeah.
Although if you have that,
because as soon as you change the weight,
start again.
Because the whole system is predicated on
the left goes on the right.
The weight of what you
transitioning.
It's not about. Well, and taking out the weight for the
because you have to put your bread rolls on the scales in the middle because it knows you have a weight, it just doesn't know what it is because there's no barcode.
It just knows the total weight of the basket.
So when you get Don Johnson turning up with a bottle of prosecco in his mouth, going, "I'll have some gummy bears." Oh. Yeah, you could probably steal that because it's in your mouth.
But the problem is
and people do steal because those that are inclined to.
The problem is, it's easier to steal going through the regular checkouts than it is actually those checkouts.
We think it's now you need to beat your barcode.
Yeah, because the person checking you out is so preoccupied checking you out, it's easier to stick something in your pocket when you're standing in that line.
No, I see.
And actually, the analytics have proven that all the theft is happening at the lines, but those and they spent a lot of money buying that software and implementing it quick, and all the big box stores that have done it, the Walmarts and whatnot, they're getting ready to rip them out. Because they
the self-service one.
Yep, because they find
people don't want to use them.
Because customers want to be customer.
Yeah, of course.
I'm paying to shop in your store.
I
could buy this on Temu for half the price. I can spend 4 crowns for the same bag of chips on Temu Why am and buy it from China?
And
Why am I going to walk into your shop and buy it from you?
It works perfectly if you follow the process.
Yes.
If you put your items here and you adhere,
but it
to
doesn't. But it doesn't allow. But it doesn't allow. And again, like
you get the
life
unidentified
happens,
thing
man.
in bagging area.
You got to the problem.
Yeah, because you've got something in your pocket.
I always fucking up.
So this is the thing with processes, right? Processes are processes, and there's the reason why they have a human step in the process is either because it was a mechanism that can only be done by a human in the past.
Yeah.
But most things have been coded out, right? So why do we have them there today? And now I'm going to take this back to services.
Yeah, sure.
And
it was going to be kind of
I'm going to segue this back into the IT landscape.
I mean, we have to build it.
Yeah.
We want to make the services quality onboarded, but quicker and more automated, but it still needs.
So big companies are sitting there trying to get rid of I don't want 25 people.
Yeah.
But, and I'm okay with that. But let's pay the 5 people that we're going to keep.
Quality.
Let's take good care of them. And this is where the companies that are doing really well with their employee and their staffs, they've recognized this. They were early adopters of this. A lot of learning, a lot of sending them to various conferences, growing them, both professionally and technically. They can do that. They can invest more in their employees because now they're just going for that top percentile of employee. I don't need 25 people that are okay at a job, so I got to keep the prices low.
But you need 5 people
I'm getting 4 brain dead people and maybe 2 that know what they're doing.
That's probably a chat for another, because we don't want to get into the people in the workplace.
From a staffing point of view, I can control my staffing because I can now know that I'm going to invest in some really good ones.
And you can forecast really accurately.
And I can forecast that accurately because we're going to have, we can also, and the other thing in big companies is they want a turnover. They want, it's healthy, right? It's like a lake. The lake is always turning over. Yeah. And it can't be too fast and it can't be too slow.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know what the sweet spot is, but they want a degree of churn.
Every industry will have a different sweet spot.
Fresh knowledge, fresh bit of eyes.
But they want to, but they have those targets in mind, and they absolutely work in HR departments. They absolutely work with those understanding of those parameters, and this allows them to do that more effectively, right?
Because of the predictability.
Because you're also, when you're looking for more talented resources, you're also spending. It's a longer lead time to find them,
for sure.
But it's also a longer time to keep them. So it gives them, and you need less. You also need less HR people, less staff. So you can reduce a lot of your headcount down by investing in having less staff. It's kind of the model. I don't need to have 100 pieces of this. I just need 10, but I need 10 really quality pieces
Joel,
that won't wear out.
But we're saying that you have the 5 quality as opposed to 25.
Yep.
And the hyper automated services that you've got are predictable services. So a request will come in, this needs to be done, and the output will be that. That's when hyper automation comes into its play, because it's predicting what's coming.
It learns over time, machine learning. It knows what time, with the volume of data, brings predictability.
Here's the one.
And every service owner wants to have a predictable service because they can forecast better.
The one negative to it, if I would throw any negative out, the con side of this is when I have a process and I have 25 people involved, right? I have a constant growth of people who are learning this process and evolving from very, the cheap. There's always that one person that comes in that gets the job and is so thankful to have a job that they're outperforming their contract, outperforming their team, and then they get promoted and then promoted again, and they get their due eventually, but they wouldn't have never gotten that opportunity had they not gotten that foot in the door. When there was,
because they're probably not good enough to be the 5.
Oh, sure,
but they're good enough to be in the 25.
In the 25. So in a way you kind of, but again, these are.
But this is how to improve.
So these are the problems that come from having hyper automation in your process.
It's how to improve and more efficiency. But it's not ruling out the.
It's also a point of view. Am I the company? Because that's a con to me as the company. Am I the employee? That's to me as the employee that limits my opportunities.
Yes.
Am I the manager in the company who's trying to run a service?
I know.
And I don't have the headcount for 25 people. I have money where I could invest in some good developers to help me hyper automate my service processes, so that I can maybe, instead of having 5, I have 10.
Yeah.
I have probably 3 rock stars, three that are worthy of being in that 5.
Yeah.
And then I have 7 that I'm trying to figure out who will fill those last couple of roles.
But what you've just described is against the efficiency that the same tech and all that kind of stuff gives us. Now, what we
how do you mean that?
Because if you look at the appetite of your middle and C-level management, a team of 25 is less interesting than a team of 5 hyper acutely aware automated.
Yeah,
people,
but
right?
at the end of the day, they take for granted the 5 just as much as the 25.
No. If you go with an organisation that has 10% churn per month, which is sometimes good, sometimes bad.
No, but this is
10% cost of replacing a fifth 1.25.
Yep, that's a lot more.
But at the end of the day, it's like, do we use hyper automation tools and AI?
Of course we will.
To make this service delivery better, and that's.
So let me give you an example of where it's really beneficial, and we're going to get into service modeling here. So, and especially in our industry, there's a lot of manufacturing that goes on.
Yep.
Right. So, and in those who don't know me, my industry currently is pharma. So we have manufacturing that's involved, and in that manufacturing, you have to. You need very good quality controls to make sure, because the stuff we're manufacturing really needs to be consistent, and we need to gain the trust of our customers that when you take a pill, it's going to be the same every time. You're
consistently
consistent. Yep.
That's pharma. Take a pill, and it's consistent.
Well,
pharma controlled. Yeah.
I mean, but hey, I mean,
Willy Wonka.
When I take an ibuprofen, I want to know that
Different tablet.
that ibuprofen's going to help me.
Joel doesn't take ibuprofen. He takes the blue ones. Yeah, you know.
The blue pill or the red pill?
I took them both. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, that's why I said Willy Wonka and the chocolate factory.
He didn't care. I think it's fair to say. Sorry, Joel.
No.
I mean, we've got to be aware, gents. We need to start tidying up. So
I think the point I was trying to.
Sorry, Joel.
The bigger point I was just trying to get to is that we take a process, we break it down, and we're removing the people, because the more people involved in a process, the more error,
more inconsistent,
the more error and inconsistency.
Same with cybersecurity, as we've had you on the show before.
Cybersecurity.
95% of errors are human errors.
Are the fleshy humans?
I mean, IT services. I mean, we're talking about this within the IT service landscape, and where you can simplify things with hyper automation, it works. Now, what you need, and where it gets costly, is you need a developer. You need somebody in your team, and typically, if you're not a team that has development requirements, you're not going to get a developer or be able to afford a developer. But with the low-code, no-code tools that are out now, Appian, Power Automate, I mean, these Power Apps, the tools are so easy nowadays that it doesn't require.
Exactly. And again, wrap this up before we get kicked out. Let's be honest, a lot of companies are going to investigate and research and invest in all of this tooling, and they're going to find a sweet spot, and it is going to be good for them because it's really good.
You got to have,
but the negative, whether we like it, and we always try to be positive, the negative will be the headcount.
You got to have a plan.
Well,
so here's the problem that I've seen. We're going to hyper automate. We're going to cancel jobs. Let's cancel the jobs, and here's some automation tools. Go run. Oh, wait a minute. Somebody has to develop that? Wait. Somebody has to know what they did? And this is where...
It's not an absolute hack
it's not an off the shelf, you're gone.
No,
but I think a lot of companies and a lot of
think that way.
Senior people bit into it really fast.
Yeah.
And then they got burned by it.
Adopting. Which get bit in the ass,
Yeah, because, again, you gotta know how to use it. And why I like the micro hyper automation is because it's very targeted, right? So, look, you, Danny, me, we have a process, and all 3 of us are involved, and we have to rubber stamp something before, we'll sign a contract as a company to do something. So in that scenario, we can use the automation to ensure that you're being notified, and I'm being notified at every step of that process.
It'll do 9 points in the process, certain
functions,
the last one is
it's not start to finish.
Yes.
Hyper or micro hyper automated.
Nope.
There are chunks in the middle, but like approvals.
And this is all we're trying to do. We're just trying to take those chunks and bite, bite a chunk of a bigger process.
I mean, the approval step can be bulked into important, minor, major, serious. But you can't just have an automated approval level because.
And when you get to a point when you've got that process so automated, that's when you need to have a couple of really good experts that understand and know the business.
And you should ask, should it ever be that hands off? I mean, Exactly. I mean, a conversation perhaps one day. Listen, rounding this up. So it's clear it's here. AI has always been a theme.
I mean, we're looking. I can't wait to employ it.
And I love it because I do some mundane stuff most days.
We're building some of this and modeling some of it
but
right
you
now
still
in
need,
our
this is my point. You still need the fleshy human. Decision, that kind of stuff.
So here's the best part.
So I say you've got to teach this thing and build it for it to learn.
Govern it almost.
I mean, so all of these apps and these low-code, no-code programming apps, these are great, right? Because I can just sit there and have you, all right, do your job, and it's actually watching you, recording every mouse click, it's actually
was
screen
it automation
recording
anywhere
you.
that was POC?
Oh, it was.
I forget which product.
The thing is, AI. If they can
Automation Anywhere is a good platform.
If
of them now have this built in.
It's basically recorded macros on your
If you can put Katy Perry at the Oscars and she's not there, can you not just put me in Barbados and let these guys do the work?
Absolutely.
And Katie will be sending you a message telling you how much she's in love with you.
Oh, we're going to get into the AI deep
You
fakes.
didn't stamp out today, deep fake Bunyan.
All that kind of stuff. So listen, we're going to wrap this up because I think it's a theme, and if it's not a theme of AI, then we'll be here for a long time. It's always a pleasure to have Joel on the show.
It is, thank you, sir.
It's always a pleasure to have Joel back. He will be back in the future when, of course,
and again, thanks to Extelligence.com who power InfoPad Multipad. Kenny could do that bit now. I forgot the cat bit, even the name of this show.
It's only been 16 episodes. You'd think you'd have it nailed by now.
Ladies and gentlemen, again today, thank you. Subscribe and like us. All the details are in the box down below. As you know, today we are sponsored by Swaggy. Join a community of food enthusiasts. If you want to know more, click on the link below.